Hey, everybody, and welcome to today's deep dive. We're going to be looking at something that you might not typically associate with work-life balance: flexible jobs in higher education.
That's right. You heard it right.
We found an incredible resource that lists 20 colleges and universities that are actively hiring for roles that offer flexibility.
And this is a real shift. I mean, universities have long been known for their kind of traditional structures,
Yeah.
but more and more they're recognizing the need for flexibility if they want to stay competitive.
Yeah, to attract and keep that top talent. And the article that we're going to be looking at today is called Top 20 Colleges and Universities That Hire for Flexible Jobs. And it's packed with examples of institutions that are really like challenging that stereotype.
Hmm.
That stereotype of the overworked, always on campus academic.
Yeah, I think it really challenges some of those assumptions that we have about what it means to work in higher education.
Right. And the list itself is incredibly diverse too.
Yeah.
We've got big names like Harvard and Johns Hopkins on there, but also smaller institutions like Unity College, which focuses on environmental science.
Right. And it's interesting to see how different institutions are approaching flexibility in different ways. You mentioned Harvard. They seem to have pretty well-established remote work policies in place,
Yep.
whereas Unity College seems to lean more towards like flexible scheduling for on-site roles.
Oh, interesting. So it's not a one-size-fits-all approach?
Definitely not.
Okay. And let's not forget those online giants as well,
Yeah.
like Capella University and Western Governors University. I mean, they were practically built with flexibility in mind.
That's true. But their heavy reliance on contingent faculty raises some important questions too, about things like job security and academic freedom. So it's important to, kind of look at the potential trade-offs that come with different models of flexibility.
That is such a great point. Because, we throw around this word flexible, but what does it actually mean? What does it mean in higher ed?
Right.
So, this list showcases everything from asynchronous online teaching, which lets instructors set their own schedules, to compressed work weeks for administrative staff.
So it's really about, rethinking how and when academic work gets done.
It really is. I love that. And speaking of the work itself, let's get to the actual jobs. The exciting part, we're seeing everything from faculty positions to administrative roles, tech positions, even a bilingual wage data collector at the University of Virginia.
Wow. No, that's a very specific one. But it just goes to show, the breadth of opportunities that are out there. Higher education isn't just about professorships anymore. It takes a whole ecosystem of roles to keep a university functioning.
Right, it really does. And I was just skimming through the list. Adjunct faculty positions for statistics, philosophy, nursing, public health, applied healthcare statistics. It really runs the gamut.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how many adjunct roles are out there, especially given all the, ongoing debates. But their impact on academic labor and job security. So it really begs the question, is flexibility in academia truly sustainable if we don't address those larger issues?
That is the question, isn't it? And I think, from a job seeker's perspective, if you're looking for flexibility in higher ed, how do you identify those institutions
Yeah.
that are truly walking the walk
Hmm.
and not just talking the talk?
Well, that's where research becomes really important.
Yeah.
You have to go beyond those job titles
Mhm.
and really delve into those institutions' policies, their culture, read employee reviews.
Ooh, employee reviews.
Those can offer valuable insights.
Yeah, it's like being a detective. You've got to uncover the real story behind those flexible labels.
Exactly what kind of flexibility would be most beneficial for you, and how can you identify opportunities that offer that in your job search? It's about aligning your needs with what the institution offers.
Okay, so let's dive into some specific institutions and see what we can find. First up, American Intercontinental University, or AIU. They're known for being incredibly flexible with over 80% of their students attending online.
Yeah, so their focus on online learning has really positioned them well to embrace flexible teaching roles. And they're also committed to supporting military personnel and their families, which aligns with their focus on accessibility.
I like that. And looking at their recent job postings, we see positions like adjunct faculty for statistics and research methods and philosophy.
Yeah, so they're really leveraging that online expertise to offer those flexible teaching roles.
That's great. Okay, next we have Emory University, a leading research university known for its dedication to knowledge and serving humanity. They have a mix of flexible positions, including a research specialist and a business analyst role that's focused on finance systems security. So you can see the range, even within a single institution.
Absolutely. It really reinforces the idea that flexibility is becoming more integrated into different departments and functions within universities.
Okay, then we have Southern New Hampshire University, or SNHU, Another institution known for its commitment to transforming lives. They're hiring for some interesting roles, like an assistant vice president of strategic foresight.
Wow, that's a forward-looking position, and it's pretty unique to see that offered with flexibility.
It is, and also a front-end web designer. So again, a diverse mix of opportunities.
Yeah, it seems like SNHU is embracing both strategic and creative roles within that flexible work framework. So they're seeing flexibility as an asset across different departments.
I love that. All right, next up, Strayer University, which focuses on providing higher education for working adults. Their recent job openings include an admissions officer and a teaching assistant in accounting.
And Strayer's focus on working adults already suggests that there's a certain level of flexibility built into their system, so it makes sense that their job offerings would reflect that.
It really does. And speaking of working adults, the University of Phoenix is another big name in that space. They've been making higher education accessible to working adults since 1976.
Yeah, a real pioneer in adult education.
Their recent job postings include an associate faculty position in nursing public health and a product manager role.
So they're catering to both the academic and the administrative side of their operations with those flexible options. Quite a comprehensive approach.
I love it. Okay, let's move on to a few more institutions. We've got the University of Virginia, founded by Thomas Jefferson himself. They're hiring for an administrative assistant in pediatric cardiology. And remember that one we mentioned earlier, that bilingual wage data collector position.
Oh, yeah. It's really interesting to see such a variety of roles being offered with flexibility. At a prestigious institution like UVA, it really signals a shift in thinking.
It does. And finally, let's talk about Western Governors University,
Sure.
or WGU, which was founded by the governors of 19 states back in 1997. As an online university, they were ahead of the curve in terms of flexibility. They're currently hiring for a lead academic program manager and an applied healthcare statistics instructor.
Yeah, and WGU's model has always been about, breaking down those barriers to education and making it accessible to a wider range of people. And it's great to see that they're continuing to champion those values in their hiring practices.
I think that's a really good point to pause for now. What stands out to you so far from all these institutions and positions?
Well, I think what's striking to me is just how diverse the approaches to flexibility are. We see institutions adapting to the needs of a changing workforce, but also grappling with the implications for academic tradition and labor practices. It's a really dynamic landscape that requires careful consideration from both employers and job seekers.
I completely agree. It's not just about finding a job with the word flexible attached to it. It's about understanding, the nuances of different flexible models and finding the right fit for your individual needs and your values.
Absolutely. And with the right research and networking, there's a wealth of opportunity out there. It's an exciting time to be exploring careers in higher education. Yeah, it's almost like each institution is running its own little experiment with flexibility, trying to find that sweet spot, between attracting top talent and maintaining academic rigor.
Ooh, I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It really captures that sense of exploration and innovation that's happening in higher ed right now.
Yeah.
But speaking of attracting talent, this shift towards flexibility, it's got to have some broader implications, right?
Oh, absolutely. It raises some really interesting questions about the future of teaching research and the overall academic experience. Will we see more innovative approaches to pedagogy? Could increased flexibility lead to more interdisciplinary collaborations? Maybe even across geographical boundaries.
That's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Imagine academics from different institutions seamlessly collaborating
Yeah.
on research projects,
Yeah.
regardless of location.
Yeah, it could really break down some of those traditional silos that have often limited collaboration in the past. And, on the teaching side, we might see more personalized learning experiences with instructors tailoring their approaches to the needs of individual students.
I am getting so excited just thinking about all these possibilities.
Yeah.
But I want to shift gears for a moment and talk about the practical side of things. For anyone out there who might be interested in pursuing a flexible job in higher ed, what advice would you give them? What are some key things to keep in mind when searching for these roles?
Well, I think first and foremost, you need to define what flexibility means to you. Are you looking for fully remote work, a hybrid schedule, or something else entirely? Once you know your priorities, you can narrow your search and target those positions that really align with your lifestyle.
It's like having a clear picture in mind before you even start shopping for a house. You don't want to waste time looking at places that don't meet your basic needs.
Exactly. And once you have those priorities in mind, don't be afraid to ask specific questions. During the application process, find out how the institution defines flexibility for that particular role. Is it about remote work options, flexible hours, or a combination of both.
It's like interviewing the institution, as much as they're interviewing you.
Exactly. And beyond the job description itself, take some time to research the institution's overall culture and policies. Do they have a track record of supporting work-life balance? What do current and former employees have to say about their experiences?
Ooh, yeah, those online reviews. They can be a goldmine of information.
They can be, but always take them with a grain of salt. Look for patterns and recurring themes, rather than focusing on isolated negative comments.
I love those tips. It's all about being informed and proactive, just like with any job search. But in higher ed, it seems like networking might be even more crucial, given the emphasis on personal connections and recommendations. What are your thoughts on that?
You're absolutely right. Networking is essential in higher ed. Attend virtual conferences, connect with people working in your field, join relevant online communities. Building relationships can open doors to hidden opportunities and provide valuable insights into specific institutions and their work cultures.
And who knows, you might even meet a future mentor or collaborator along the way. Those connections can be so invaluable throughout your career.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of careers, there's one more piece of advice I'd offer. To anyone seeking a flexible job in higher ed, be prepared to showcase your adaptability and tech savviness
That makes perfect sense, especially with the rise of online.
and hybrid learning.
Exactly. Flexible work arrangements often rely heavily on technology and self-management skills. So highlight your experience with remote collaboration tools, online learning platforms, and your ability to work independently and effectively.
Those skills are in such high demand these days across many industries, but they're especially crucial in higher ed, where things are constantly evolving.
Right, and don't underestimate the importance of continuous learning. Stay up to date with the latest trends in your field, explore new technologies, be open to expanding your skill set.
It's all about being a lifelong learner, which is fitting, given that we're talking about careers and education. Indeed. And with that spirit of continuous learning in mind, let's shift our focus back to the institutions themselves. We've talked a lot about the potential benefits of flexibility in higher ed, but what are some of the potential challenges or drawbacks that we should be aware of?
That's a great question. It's important to look at both sides of the coin.
Yeah, one potential challenge is ensuring that flexibility doesn't create a two-tiered system. Within universities, we need to make sure that all faculty members, regardless of their rank or employment status, have access to equitable work arrangements.
Right. It goes back to that question we raised earlier about adjunct roles and the potential for a divide within the academic workforce.
Exactly. And another challenge is maintaining a sense of community and collaboration when people are working remotely or on flexible schedules. Institutions need to be intentional about creating opportunities for connection and interaction, even in a virtual environment.
That's crucial. Those informal interactions.
Yes.
Those water cooler conversations. They can be so important for sparking new ideas and fostering a sense of belonging.
Absolutely. And those informal interactions are also where a lot of mentoring and knowledge sharing happens. So institutions need to find creative ways to facilitate those connections, even when people aren't physically in the same space.
What about building a virtual water cooler?
Exactly. And another challenge is managing expectations and communication. In a flexible work environment, clear guidelines and open communication are essential to make sure that everyone's on the same page and that work gets done effectively.
It's all about setting clear boundaries and expectations from the outset. For example, if you're working remotely, what are the expected response times for emails and messages? What are the protocols for scheduling meetings and collaborating on projects?
Those are all great questions to ask during the job interview or even before you apply. It's important to make sure that your expectations align with the institution's culture and practices.
And it's like flexibility is a journey, both for institutions and for individuals. It's about constant adaptation, communication, and a willingness to experiment and learn from each other's experiences.
I couldn't agree more. And as we continue down this path of increasing flexibility in higher ed, it's crucial to have these conversations, to acknowledge both the opportunities and the challenges, and to work together to create a future where work-life balance is not a privilege, but a norm.
Beautifully said. I think that's a perfect segue into our final thoughts on this topic. As we wrap up our deep dive into flexible jobs in higher ed, what's the one key takeaway you hope our listeners walk away with?
I think the biggest takeaway is that the landscape of higher education is changing. Flexibility is no longer this niche concept. It's becoming increasingly integrated into the fabric of academia.
Right.
And this opens up a world of possibilities for people seeking fulfilling and balanced careers in higher ed.
Ooh, I love that. It's a message of hope and opportunity. But it's not just about individual benefits, right? This shift toward flexibility, it has the potential to transform higher education as a whole.
Absolutely. As more institutions embrace flexible work arrangements, we might see a ripple effect across the entire system. It could lead to more diverse and inclusive faculty, more innovative approaches to teaching and research, and a greater emphasis on work-life balance for everyone in the academic community.
It's like we're witnessing a paradigm shift, a move towards a more human-centered approach to academia.
Yeah, and it's an exciting time to be a part of this transformation. Whether you're a seasoned academic or just starting your career, I encourage you to explore the possibilities, challenge those assumptions, and be a part of shaping the future of higher education.
Love it. So for anyone listening who's feeling inspired to explore those possibilities, where's a good place to start their search for flexible jobs in higher ed?
Well, the resource we've been discussing today, the article Top 20 Colleges and Universities That Hire for Flexible Jobs, is a great starting point. It provides concrete examples of institutions that are actively embracing flexibility.
And beyond that specific resource, are there any other websites or platforms that you'd recommend?
Oh, absolutely. Academicjobs.com is a fantastic resource for discovering higher education jobs, both locally and globally. They have a wide range of listings, including many that offer flexible work arrangements.
That's a great tip. So if you're dreaming of a career in academia, but worried about finding a position that fits your lifestyle, don't give up hope. There are more and more opportunities out there for those who value flexibility.
And remember, the key is to be proactive. Do your research. Network with people in your field. With the right approach, you can find a fulfilling and balanced career that allows you to make a meaningful contribution to the world of higher education.
Beautifully said. That's a wrap for today's deep dive into flexible jobs in higher education. We hope you found it insightful and inspiring. Until next time, keep those minds curious and those careers flexible.